This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. We've got a lot of tasks planned for this week. We're going to get every single other bulkhead that's remaining into the boat, and then we have some other projects planned as well.
Right. We're going to get the diesel engine out and start planning for dropping it into the hull. And we also want to do some kind of logistics work, and we're going to move our epoxy from where we have it stored at our house in a refrigerated unit to here.
Yay.
There's a lot of reasons for it, but we'll get into that in the video. So let's jump right into it and get over to the lot here and see what we are doing this week. So we'll need Brian if we're going to do that. So,
Yep.
Off we go. It's a new week and a new job.
Peel ply pulling.
Well, not the peel ply part. We're doing the cockpit webs here, and these are actually the seat at the bench at the stern of the boat, and we need to put these on to strengthen up the stern before we can mount that bridge deck to it. So we're going to pull the peel ply on these, and then we're going to start bonding these to the boat. So what we're doing right now is we're marking exactly where these go based on the plans. Are you vertical?
Yeah.
Hang on. I put all marks along here, and then I had Brian look at the plans and go remeasure them himself to make sure that we agreed that this was right. Because once we glue this stuff, boy, ungluing is hard. Time to glass these on. We'll start out by gluing them, screwing the blocks in, and then we'll get to glassing. We've already cut the fiberglass and peel ply, so as soon as we get these coves on here, we're going to mix up some straight epoxy and get the fiberglass right on. So that'll get all 5 of these, one side of them mounted. We'll let that set up today and come back tomorrow and glue the other side, which is even easier because we don't have to do the blocks or anything. And then we'll put on bulkhead number 9, which is going to attach to the backs of these, and that'll be tomorrow as well. So since this is all going to get done really early today, we got another 30 minutes here and this will be finished. We're going to have to decide what we're going to work on next, because we can't work on the front because we have a little issue up there, and we're waiting for an answer from our friends at Schionning as to a solve for it. But that'll come probably tomorrow morning, and so we'll get back to that. It's no big deal. It's just we might have to cut one little piece of foam differently. First half. So we've got the cockpit web for the seat in for today. We'll get back to this tomorrow, but things went well for this round of it. So while the cockpit web is setting up back there, we've come to the bow because we still got some bulkheads here that we have to get in, and first thing we have to do is cut a little bit for the keelson to fit in. So we've already gone in there and marked it. And now we'll just carve some holes. Bulkhead 3 is in and gluing. That one was a bit of a problem child, but we got it. So it's all aligned with the one on the other side. It's aligned at the correct distance. It's here. It's leveled this way and this way, all that good stuff. It's it's the correct distance down since we shaved it. So that thing's as good as we can get it. I think we're gonna call it a day, and we'll tackle the next thing tomorrow. Pull the peel ply, and this looks real nice now. So got those tabs in, and now we're going to do the other side over here. So I'm going to pull all these blocks, and we're going to cove and tab those this morning. We've already sanded all this and cleaned it, so ready to go. Got a little warmer day today. It's already clearing up to sunshine. Fortunately, this part's in the shade. We do have a bit of a heat wave coming, so they say. And that's why we wanted to get that hardtop up there. That cabin top up, we get a lot more shade to work in. All right, cockpit web is all glassed in, both sides now. So next thing we're going to do is put on bulkhead number 9 and attach it to this side. Bulkhead 9 is our last large bulkhead that we have prepped by putting in rope and all that good stuff in much earlier videos. So this is the last one. So we're going to pull the peel ply on it right now so that we can mount it up to the stern. This is literally the complete stern of the boat. This is where our boat name will be printed on, and our port of registry, which will probably be the Marshall Islands. It's either that or Grand Cayman. One of the two, but we're leaning toward the Marshall Islands. And if you want to know why, the Winds did a very nice video about where to register your boat. We'd already done that research ourselves, but they confirmed it for us because we'd come up with the same decision that it was going to be one of those, but probably the Marshalls. So on we go. Okay, part 2. Now normally when we peel this off, it takes the name of the part off, but I think we know which one this is. It's the last bulkhead, so not going to get mixed up with somebody else. Always has a little trouble right here where we've done something like this. Is one of those ropes that we put in, and it always messes up when there's epoxy like this, getting the peel ply off, so makes a troubly area. We're dry fitting this bulkhead right now, so we just want to get it in place. Get this held in position here and do a little bit of tweaking on it, and then we'll put some blocks in to hold it, and glass again one side of it all the way across, and tomorrow we'll glass the other side all the way across, and we'll be good. All right, and now we just have to make sure that this is in exactly the right place. All right, we're back, because we had a lot to figure out on where this thing goes. There's many things it ties into. It has to be level with the top of the pieces that we just put in. It has to be the right height, and I'll show you that over here, so that just like these on this side, that the chamfer panel comes in and rests right along this edge to edge on this outer edge. So it has to come in right there. So that has to be just hovering like that. And of course we had to make sure it was centered properly, so that the same exact distance out and the same chamfer panel's position in here. So there was just a lot of different things to check to make sure that this was perfectly in position, because once we glass it, that's where it is. And so we're happy with it now. It's level. It's the right height on either end. So we're going to go ahead and screw the blocks in and then start putting in the coves and tabs. So we got this one in, and we've glassed in all of the side of it all the way across. So that's all good to go. Tomorrow we'll take those blocks out and do the other side. And the last bulkhead at all that we had to prep for going across the holes. This one doesn't go all the way in the holes, but it's the last one. So from here on out, it's just some pieces in the side of each hull that we have to mess around with. A few up at the bow still that we're working on. And there's about 3 small bulkheads that go in up there. And but we got this in. We also put in all these pads here, because we're starting to wear hard hats because of these hitting our heads on stuff. But this one is no problem. But as you can see, this one for me is a head smacker. So I've coated all of these various places with foam that I might hit my head anyway, in case I'm not wearing a hard hat at the moment. But we are going to start wearing them, because we have to work under here for the next couple months as we're getting the bridge deck put up. And so we're going to be whacking our heads into this many times. So we're going to have to say hard hats and pads both, just in case we're not having a hard hat on for 1 second. So Brian's already got his on over there. So that's for what we wanted to accomplish today, was to get this whole bench part done. So as you can see, this is the bench area. So that's just where the back is and the seat on all that. That's the stern of the boat now. And each day we're getting a little bit more looking like a boat. So very exciting stuff. And but later this week, instead of building the bridge deck like I wanted to get to, we need to actually build the motor mounts over here, and they go right here. So in here is going to be where we put the diesel engine. In fact, the diesel sits very far up in this end of it, which is clear up here by the major bulkhead number 6. So as you can see, that's right where the cradles are holding it. And so the engine's weight is, I don't want to say centered, but very far towards the center line of the boat. There's a lot of hull, like, you know, from there all the way up back there still. So it puts a lot of the weight further towards the middle, and you want that. But the reason that we have to work on the motor mounts right now is the diesel engine right here. It's just in the way. When we put these tables down the center here, all the way down to build the bridge deck so that we can raise it, we need to build the bridge deck exactly under right here. and over to the same squared off spot right here. And because of that, as you can see, if we come over here, this engine box is in the way of that. So it can't be here because we have to put these tables lined up along that edge. So we have to get this engine out of here. So the only way to get it out of here is to put it in the boat. So we're going to get the motor mounts built in over here, and then we'll take that engine and move it to the center with our engine hoist. Move the engine hoist on the other side, pick it up and bring it over and drop it in right here. Once that's in, of course, this box and the crate can get out of here, and we can build the bridge deck. So that now becomes the priority, is to get the motor mounts built and the engine and electric drive, because we want it all going at once, all assembled here and then dropped into the hull. Now that we can finally put in these stern bulkheads, bulkhead number 8 here defines a space that's very important to us right here, because on the other side of this bulkhead here is the cabin in the stern, and forward of this is the sugar scoop area and the kick-up rudders and all that stuff. But that leaves this space in between here that's not used for anything specifically. And there'll be a hatch up above here to give us access down. It'll actually be about at this height right here. So right here. And so this is a deck that goes across right here. And there's a hatch. And that'll let us get into this little space right here. And we have many, many, many uses for this little space. On this side is where the dive compressor is going to go. So there'll be a shelf right over there, and it'll be sitting up fairly high, obviously below that level there, but fairly high up over there as a dive compressor. Now, there's a chance we might put that dive compressor here as well. It all depends on the size of it. We don't really have the exact dimensions of where that's going to go yet. So either go on that side or this side, but it's going in this compartment right here. And the other thing going in this compartment is the fuel polishing system will be built onto the wall over here, because the diesel engine is right on the other side of this. And so the fuel polishing can be here, and if we ever get our fuel filters clogged, we can just hit a switch and flip over to using the fuel polishing system as the filter system going straight to the diesel. So that if it's clogged up at a bad time, we can just switch to another set of filters and keep going. But this is also obviously the fuel polishing system, so at times we'll be polishing the fuel, which will come all the way from the diesel tanks in the front, come back through here, go through the system, and go all the way back to the tanks again. But the tanks need to be forward because that's a weight issue. We need that diesel forward on the boat. So there'll be 2 fuel lines coming from the front to the back, one to bring the fuel, one to send it back. And so that all goes on in this compartment. Now on the opposite side, we have the same compartment over here. But this one is going to be used for a completely different thing. That's all dive compressor and fuel filters and that kind of motory stuff and things. And on this side, this is where all the electronics go. So we're going to have our Victron inverters sitting here, and there'll be MPPTs on this back panel that's up here, and all of the electronics that are used in the boat are all going to be housed inside this one compartment here. So electronics on this side, dive compressor and fuel polishing on the other side. Oh, one more thing about that. The reason we want the electronics on this side is that over here in this compartment, on the other side of this bulkhead, is where the electric system is, including all of the batteries, the electric motor for this hull, the controls, the control box for the electric motors, everything, all the electronics for the electrical system are here. So it's a very short run to hook into all these electronics from the batteries to right here, and the shorter the cables, the better. But of course, we have to run a large bus bar all the way across here between these 2 compartments, because we need to bring the power from the batteries all the way over to the other electric motor that's with the diesel over there. So that bus bar will actually be more over there near the batteries, because the batteries are
up to the front of that compartment where that opening is right there. And the bus bar will run across over to the other side over there where the other electric motor is, and that'll supply that power to it. And that same bus bar takes power up to the helm, because right up there is where the winch is, and that takes quite a bit of amps. And so we need to run power over to that. And coming off the center of the bus bar right here and going through the floor will be power that goes up to the windlass up forward. So a lot of things to figure out, but this is the area that I was just showing you where all the electronics and engines and electric motors and dive compressor and wheel polishing, all of that's right in this area right here. Since the bulkhead number 8 and 9 and the portions back there are setting up, for the afternoon we've been working on bulkhead number 1. Bulkhead number 1 goes right here, and it's going to be the part that the forebeam connects into. The forebeam goes on either side with a slice down the middle. So we're going to go ahead and get number 1 at least glued in today. We'll get to number 1 on the other side, on the port side, another day, tomorrow or another day. But at least we'll get this one glued in today. It's a little too sunny up on the bow right now to glass the bulkheads in. We've got them glued in, but we need to tab them. But it's just too hot and sunny out there, and the epoxy set up too fast. So we're going to do that in the morning early. So we said, well, what else can we do this afternoon while it's still nice out, but that's not in the sun? So these are UFW EB5. This is the underfloor webs. So these are the sole. That would be the sole right on top of here in the hulls, and these are the supports that go down into the bottom. This is the cross piece. And so we're going to go ahead and get all the peel ply off all of these and glue these in today. All right, all the peel ply is off. We didn't make you sit through that. And we remarked everything. UFW 5, Web 5 and Web 6 and Web 4 up there. Now we're going to move on over to the port side, and that's where this one goes. So we're blocking in our underfloor webs right now. We're not actually gluing them, we just want them blocked in. So we're putting them at the correct height here. Screwing a block in there. We're ready to go. All right, it's level. Hang on now. All right. Okay. So we get one hole, one screw in, and then leave a level on it. Find out where it's got to go. Okay, so we get a level. Then put a block on the opposite side. So we make sure the tops are all level. It doesn't matter about the bottoms yet. We'll be pressing this down as we glue it on. So these just needed to be attached in there so that we can tab two sides of each of these so that this becomes solid, and then we can press it down as necessary in here. So anyway, we may need to trim a little bit down there to let it settle down. And that's just the variance in the hand making of this hull, because it's not 100% exact always, because handmade. And so we have to adjust just slightly to set down to the right spot and be exactly 2 centimeters from there, so that when we put the sole on here, it lines right up on top of here. So it's very close to that, and just some small tweaks and it'll be right. Good morning. Coming to you from my house today, and these are our Combi crates. I showed them in a previous video. I've already pulled the plastic off of them right now, got down to the wood crate itself, because we've got a little bit of a different day plan today.
we need to build the motor mounts in because I've mentioned to you that we need to get the engine out of the way so that we can build the bridge deck where it is right now. And the only place we can put it is in the boat. And so we just need to get its permanent position with the motor mounts built and then put it in there. And so in order to build the motor mounts, we kind of have to put together the whole electric and diesel system and then just lift that all in as one and put it onto the motor mounts. That means we need to get into at least one of these two crates to get the diesel side electric motor. Now we're not sure which crate it's in, so I uncovered them both, and you know, by Murphy's Law is that whichever one we pick to open first will be the wrong one, so we'll end up opening them both most likely. But that's what we're up to right now. I'm going to find some tools to figure out how this crate goes together and take it apart, and we'll find out how it's packed inside. This will be our first look at it, and we're just going to these aren't that heavy, so Brian and I can just pick up one and load it into the back of his truck and carry it over. But that's not the only thing we're doing today. We're also bringing the Bobcat over, and we're going to move the flow bin from my house to the lot with the rest of the Sikkim and Epoxy in it, because we want to put a different valve for getting into it, but that's a whole different thing. So we're going to have to construct a little holder for it over there because it has to be in a little air-conditioned area, and so we'll be building that as well today and getting that set up. So it's crate day. Flow bin onto a new home and Combi electric motors. All right, I got the screws out. So let's open up number one here. There it goes. Looks like a bunch of crappy plastic. All right. Well, if nothing else, I had to get in this one anyway because this is the bracket that attaches it to the diesel, so had to get in this crate no matter what. So this I might have won the 50-50 because if this is the electric motor that goes with the brackets, we're good. This is the one we need to open. Cool. The other side of that bracket. Okay, so now we're down to 3 boxes. We got the motor in this one. No idea on that one or that one. So guess we'll start with these 2 smaller boxes and find out what's in them. Let's see what's inside. Any guesses? Well, that's different. Not what I expected. How's that? What we have here is the electric motor, which I thought was in the big box. So now I don't know what's in the big box. But there's the 25 kilowatt electric motor. Now I'm guessing that this one must be the magnetic clutch. And oh yeah, so we got some various parts, and then down there is the magnetic clutch. Okay, so I was at least right on that box, which leaves a very strange one. What's in the big one? Another electric motor, which really brings the interesting question. What the heck's in that? If both electric motors and the clutch are, oh, I know what's in here. The control box to control all this stuff is going to be in there. We definitely don't need to get to that right now. All right, so this motor we don't need today because this is the one that has the motor mount, so therefore it goes on the port side, and we're not putting that in. We're putting the one on the starboard side that connects to the diesel, so we won't need this one, but we need those 2 pieces right there. This is the bracket that holds the electric motor onto the diesel down here, and we're trying to get this assembled. These are pressed on like that. All right, So the next thing is to take the engine cover off.
Yep.
Go! All right towards the camera. Down. Okay. Our beautiful diesel that does not go in there. It goes where you are with that camera over there. But right now we're not trying to put it in the boat. That's later after we build the motor mounts. Right now what we're trying to do is get some measurements to get this motor at the correct height up and the correct distance for these bolts to go in, because we have to build in a couple plates into the motor mounts to put those bolts into. So we need some measurements there, and we also need to attach these brackets.
We moved on to our next task of the day, which is bringing the epoxy from my garage over to the lot. And we started by bringing in the 55-gallon drum of West System and getting it placed onto a rack so that we can just get that epoxy anytime we want. We were having trouble with our pumps failing, and these pumps were inserted from the top of the flow bin, and we were pumping it out into our 5-gallon jugs. And fortunately there is a valve at the bottom on the side of the flow bin, but you have to raise this whole flow bin up high enough to get our 5-gallon jug under it, and there's just not enough room in my garage to raise it that much. So we decided to move the flow bin and the 55-gallon drums for the West System all over to the lot now and just build a refrigeration unit around them here.
Well, we constructed our giant ice chest over our barrels and over our flow bin here. So we have our air conditioner on the side, hooked into our solar panel and batteries, so we don't have to worry about how much power it uses. And the fact is that we hardly use any of the power we generate. Our batteries never get below 95% right now, so running that little air conditioner off of them is going to be nothing. So those batteries are well suited for our voyage, because they got a lot of power. So that's all done, and we didn't show you much of that because it was boring, bunch of foam. And then also we spent the last 3 hours just measuring the diesel engine and the Combi electric motor portions and the brackets and the magnetic clutch and everything, trying to figure out just how much clearance we need on the motor mounts, because we have to carve that wood, and it's in two different curves, the curvature of the hull, which is this way, and the slope of the hull, which is a curve as well the other direction. So we had to get so many measurements done and get all that parts out to measure them and everything. So all we did is measure and measure and measure and talk and talk and talk and measure and measure. Not all that interesting. What'll be much more interesting is getting started on Monday, because now we've got it figured out and we can start building those motor mounts out of slats of Western red cedar, and that's the part that supports it. And then there's, of course, there's another section which is just foam, but that's just so we can walk on it next to the engine. That's not support for the motor. The support for the motors is pretty much the solid wood. Now we did make a modification to that, which from the plans, which in the plans what they had us do is carve a hole into the wood, set a bolt in upside down, and use thickened epoxy to seal it in, and then you would just put the motor mounts on that and put the nuts down. And it would work, and it has worked on many a Schionning boat, I'm sure, on there. I just didn't like it for one very small reason, which I did bring up with them, which is if for some reason one of these bolts gets stripped out somehow. For example, one of the nuts vibrates loose and the engine
vibrates a little and it just wears the threads of the stud coming out of the wood. I have no way to replace it if it's epoxied in there without carving out the wood and carving it all apart. And I just don't like the idea that I can't replace the engine mount bolts easily. And so we changed that, and what we're going to do is we're going to build them exactly the way Schionning wants, except for the last little bit with the hole in the thickened epoxy. Instead, we're going to mount steel plates on top with a couple little cavities in there so that we can reach in and put a bolt through the steel plate and then drop the engine onto that. And if the engine ever does screw up those bolts, it's as simple as backing off the nut and pulling the bolt out and putting a new bolt and nut in through that plate. So it's replaceable at any time that we want to do it without having to move the engine or anything. So it's a small change, and it costs more to do it because we have to pay for the steel plates and such. And it's a little more work because we have to drill all those plates and everything. And we have to mount those plates in, and we're probably going to do that 2 different ways. We'll probably glass the actual over the top of those plates to hold them down and in, but we're also going to put some holes on the corners and put deep lag bolts down into the wood. So it'll be both glassed and bolted, lag bolted, lag screwed I should say, into the wood of the motor mount area. So that plate isn't going everywhere. Also, we're going to notch a hole in and set the plate down into it so it can't go anywhere either. So anyway, there's a little bit more work to do this, but in the long run, if I ever have to replace them, it's a lot less work. So I'd rather do it differently and in a better way now than have a headache someday in the future.
We had a great week, got many tasks accomplished, including working on the stern bench, getting bulkhead number 9 in, getting the rest of the bulkheads in. We also got, thank goodness, the epoxy moved out of my garage and over here to the lot, yay. And we got the refrigeration housing built for that epoxy. We unboxed this great Nanny engine, and we're gonna get ready next week to put this into the boat.
Right, and quite a bit of work we have to do on this to get that done. There's a lot of assembly of the Combi motor system and a magnetic decoupler and all that good stuff. And so we're going to contact our machine shop friends, which are Brian DeRuiter and Michael DeRuiter, his son, and see if we can't get them to give us a little bit of a hand there, because there's a whole bunch of work there that Brian and I haven't done a lot of, and so it's nice to get some experts to help us. Now the actual, once that's all together, we can bolt it all on here ourselves. And it's really important that we get it all measured properly, because we've got to build those motor mounts precisely to get that 5-degree tilt and not be too high yet also, of course, fit. And so a lot of work we got to get done next week into building a whole system in. So that's going to take us some time and effort, and we're going to show you how that all goes, and by the end of the week we're going to pick this thing up and drop it into the boat, and hopefully gently lower it into the boat. But we need it out of the way so we can get these tables in here and get to that bridge deck, but that won't be next week unless we are amazingly fast. We'll be spending our time mostly on the motor mounts and the engine, although there are a few glassing bits that we may do as well if we have the time for it. So thank you all for spending some time with us this week and watching this video. We do appreciate you doing that. And of course, we very much appreciate all of our patrons who help keep this project going. And if you have the means, please join our patron crew. But if not, we do appreciate you just watching the videos. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And we'll see you next week for some engine shenanigans.
Bye.
Bye.